Part 1: When you retire, never give such things to your children, especially after 70 years old. In an era where familial bonds are often tested by the pressures of modern life, the story of Mr. Bernie challenges our understanding of parental love and expectations. Imagine devoting your entire life to raising and supporting your children, only to find yourself feeling forgotten and unappreciated in your golden years. Mr. Bernie and his wife, once devoted parents who spared no effort or expense to give their sons the best possible start, now find themselves at a crossroads. Their tale is a poignant reminder that while parental love knows no bounds, it must sometimes confront the harsh realities of changing family dynamics. Dive into this compelling narrative to discover why Mr. Bernie chooses to safeguard his retirement savings, prioritizing independence over unconditional support, and what it means for retirees navigating similar emotional and financial dilemmas. However, there are exceptions. Mr. Bernie from our neighborhood is not like this. He and his wife were once civil servants, earning good salaries and saving a lot of money. Now, both are retired, and their combined retirement pensions add up to over $5,000. Despite this, they haven't given their children a single penny since retirement, which puzzles people. While other parents are eager to give their children money, they firmly refuse. What could they be thinking? Let's hear Mr. Bernie's story and understand the reasons behind this. Mr. Bernie says, "I'm 72 years old this year, retired for 12 years. My wife is 5 years younger than me and has also been retired for over a decade. We both worked in state-owned enterprises, so our combined monthly pensions exceed $5,000. With such retirement funds, we live comfortably, enjoying whatever we want and traveling as we please. We don't hold back on ourselves. After working hard for half our lives, retirement is a time to enjoy life. Despite our comfortable situation, we've never spent a penny on our children." Some might ask, with such high pensions, wouldn't we have some money left each month to support our children? After all, young people have it tough, and parents should help them. However, my wife and I prefer to keep the money for ourselves, even if it depreciates, rather than spend it on our children. He continues, "Our actions aren't heartless. We've observed our two sons' behavior, which has left us cold. My wife and I struggled in life and know how painful poverty is. When our lives improved after entering public service, we were very caring and loving towards our two sons. However, we had boundaries. We spared no expense for what they needed but firmly refused to spend on what they didn't need. Perhaps due to my educational philosophy of being tactful and moderate. Both sons have always performed well since childhood. They excelled academically and were admitted to prestigious universities. They graduated, found employment in major cities, got married, and had children. Everything was smooth and stable. Many people admired us, saying we raised them well. Our sons became white-collar workers in big cities, achieving success in their careers." Mr. Bernie adds, "Although both sons were outstanding, my wife and I did a lot to help them build their families and careers. After our eldest son graduated from college, we arranged for him to work in a state-owned company recommended by someone we knew. When he got married, we paid the down payment for his new house, about $100,000 US. Later, when he bought a car, we sponsored $5,000. As for our younger son, his major in college was relatively unpopular, making it difficult for him to find a job after graduation. So, we spent money to send him for further studies. He didn't secure a stable job until nearly 30. When he got married, he married a woman from another province, and we spent over $5,000 US on his dowry. Moreover, we bought a house for both brothers, spending all the savings we had accumulated over half a lifetime." Mr. Bernie shares later they both had children, so my wife and I retired early to take care of them. My wife retired at 50 to care for our eldest grandson, and I retired at 60 to care for our youngest granddaughter. It wasn't until the two children started school that we could rest. We can be said to have given everything for our two sons, giving our all. We thought that with our selfless dedication, they would eventually take care of us. But in the end, there was no filial piety, only a desire to live off us. Generally, where there are old people, there's a home, and children should come home often to visit. But our sons are different. They rarely come home during festivals and seldom call. Our eldest son lives just 300 km away. Only a 4-hour drive, yet he only comes home once a year, usually during the Chinese New Year. Each time, he arrives empty-handed and leaves with gifts. I remember one year Mr. Bernie recalls, while neighbors' children brought bags of goods and gifts for their parents, our eldest son was extremely stingy. He drove his SUV home but only brought 2 pieces of clothing for my wife and me, without any New Year gifts. While other children give red envelopes to their parents on New Year's Eve, our eldest son never did. Only the grandchildren were thoughtful enough to give us their red envelopes. Before the new year was over, our eldest son would leave, clearing out the New Year goods we prepared for the family. That year, I felt that our son and daughter-in-law were too much, so I said a few words to them. My son replied, "Anyway, you're both so old now, you can't eat so much, and it's a waste to leave things at home." Mr. Bernie continues, our younger son was even more excessive. When we bought a house for him, he asked for money to buy a car. When he asked for money, his tone was like that of a bandit, directly saying, "Dad, I want to buy a car, quickly transfer $700,000 to me. Do it now." I felt very uncomfortable with this demanding attitude from my son. It made me feel like he thought he was the father and I was the son. So I refused. Although we could afford to give him $700,000, I didn't like my son asking for money like that. Especially when he already had a car, buying another one would be a waste. Mr. Bernie explains, later when he couldn't get money for the car, he found other ways to ask for money, saying he needed it to renovate the house or start a business, asking for tens of thousands each time. But I saw through his intentions and only gave him a little money each time. Unexpectedly. Because I refused to give him money, my son began to treat us poorly, as if we had wronged him. Every time he came back, he was cold and indifferent, leaving as soon as he finished eating, even when we asked him to stay longer. He heartlessly refused, saying it was uncomfortable staying at home. Gradually, Mr. Bernie notes, the actions of our 2 sons made us increasingly cold-hearted. 4 years ago, my wife was hospitalized due to osteoarthritis. Although the medical expenses for surgery and treatment were covered by us, my wife wished for our sons to visit her. However, both sons avoided visiting like they were avoiding a plague. None of them came back, as if visiting their mother would cost them money. In the end, both sons only made a simple phone call and showed no real concern. What was originally a simple operation caused my wife a lot of pain, not physical pain, but emotional pain. While in the hospital, other patients were accompanied by their children, but we only had each other, which was quite pitiful. Mr. Bernie continues, later, when my wife was still recovering, I accidentally fell and fractured my foot. At that time, my wife's back was not good, and she couldn't take care of me. I wanted our 2 sons to come and take care of us, but they kept making excuses. One said he was busy with work, and the other claimed he wasn't feeling well. Despite explaining the seriousness of my condition, they both said they couldn't come. Helpless, I spent money to hire a caregiver. However, during my recovery, I found out through my grandchildren that my eldest son had taken his family to the seaside for a vacation, and the younger son had gone hiking. Knowing all this made me feel more heartbroken than physical pain. After experiencing such things, Mr. Bernie reflects, people ask if we still need to give our savings to our sons. That's why my wife and I gradually let go of our sons, no longer relying on them and no longer pinning our hopes for retirement on them. Because we are still alive and able to take care of ourselves. If they treat us so heartlessly now, it would be worse if we couldn't take care of ourselves in the future. Therefore, we decided to firmly hold on to our money, not giving our sons a penny, even in emergencies. We will reserve enough retirement funds for ourselves. If we can't take care of ourselves in old age, we won't rely on our sons but will go to a nursing home together. Although a nursing home lacks the warmth of family and personalized care, I believe that buying services with money will be more comfortable and enjoyable than relying on our sons. Perhaps Mr. Bernie's situation is rare, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. In today's society, human emotions are as thin as paper, and familial affection is not what it used to be. Especially now, young people pursue freedom and self-enjoyment, and it's rare to find someone completely filial to their parents. So when we grow old, we must hold on to our retirement savings tightly. If children are in trouble, we should help, but not too much. Everyone must experience the ups and downs of life, and children should face their own trials. What we can do is help them within our means when they are in trouble. Many elderly people think about helping their children raise their grandchildren after retirement. But nowadays, many young people prefer to raise their children themselves and are unwilling to let their parents take care of them. If they don't have grandchildren to take care of, retirement life can be boring. If there's enough pension, life might be manageable, but without it, people can become anxious about earning more money. Many people are still young at 60 and can work for another 5 or 6 years. So what kind of work can they do after retirement? Today, I'll share with you 4 types of jobs that retirees can still engage in. 1. The first type is community security. Many community security guards are retired elderly people. If you're retired and in good health, you can apply to be a community security guard. In the community where I live, several security guards are retired seniors. They sit in the security booth every day, reading newspapers and helping press a button to open the gate when someone comes by. The work is relatively leisurely. When looking for security work, try not to aim for high-end communities, as they may have strict management and may not hire retired seniors. It's better to look for opportunities in medium to low-end communities. However, security work usually involves night shifts. My uncle became a security guard after retirement and had to work night shifts, which can be tiring. Be mentally prepared for this. To find security work, it's best to have someone you know introduce you. If you don't have connections, inquire at the Community Property Management Office. 2. The second type is being a nanny. Mrs. Carol, 52 years old, retired 2 years ago with a monthly pension of over $1,500. Her husband passed away many years ago, and her only daughter is still studying for her master's degree. Since Mrs. Carol's parents are healthy, she felt unfulfilled doing odd jobs like working at a supermarket or watching over stores. She decided to explore other options. One day, she was sitting on a bench downstairs, lost in thought, when she chatted with an old acquaintance who mentioned his inconvenience due to his current situation. He could still take care of himself, but his only daughter was married and had children elsewhere, and he didn't want to trouble her. He considered hiring a live-in nanny but thought it unnecessary, instead looking for someone to cook and clean weekly. Mrs. Carol realized there might be many elderly people like him in their community and decided to become a new type of nanny, not living in but offering assistance as needed. She posted messages in her community group offering her services to cook for the elderly or help young people who needed assistance. To her surprise, she received inquiries from 3 elderly people's children that night. She started by cooking meals according to their preferences and delivering them. Eventually, she expanded her services to include cleaning and accompanying them to medical appointments. After more than a month, Mrs. Carol noticed a growing demand for such services among the elderly, who often felt neglected by their families. They didn't just need material support but also desired companionship and understanding. Her interactions with the elderly taught her the importance of empathy and communication. She realized many elderly people wanted someone to listen to them and appreciate their stories. Over time, she provided practical assistance and emotional support, enriching her own life. After 6 months, she invited former colleagues to join her, forming a small team to provide similar services, creating a supportive environment for both the elderly and themselves. 3. The third type is setting up a small stall to sell goods. If you have some savings, you can buy a small cart and set up a stall at the entrance of supermarkets or malls to sell fruits or snacks. This is a form of self-employment, albeit with some financial risk. It's not advisable for retirees with limited funds, as failure is possible. However, for those who enjoy independence and have spare cash, it could be worth a try. If you have a garden and grow your own vegetables, you can sell your produce at the stall. 4. The fourth type is working as a dishwasher in a restaurant. After retirement, women may not be able to work as security guards like men, but they can consider dishwashing in restaurants. My aunt found a dishwashing job after retirement, working at a restaurant during lunch and dinner hours, with the rest of the day free for rest. However, the pay may not be high. Similar jobs include hotel cleaning staff positions. After retirement, if you need extra income, it's possible to find work. Having money provides a sense of security, and being financially independent is important for retirees. However, it's crucial to find low-intensity work to avoid overexertion, which could lead to health issues. Retirement should focus on enjoying life, with earning money as a secondary consideration. Even if you don't have much money, living a simple life and saving can still sustain you. Lastly, I wish all retired friends a happy and fulfilling retirement. Remember, you're never alone in this community. Part 2. Don't live with your children. In old age, getting too close to your children will be a disaster. In the twilight years, should parents live with their children or pursue their own dreams? Meet Aura, a 62-year-old mother who dared to defy tradition and societal expectations. After the death of her husband and a decade of solitude, she moved in with her son and daughter-in-law, hoping for companionship and care. But what unfolded was a harsh reality that turned her retirement into a relentless cycle of unpaid labor and unappreciated sacrifice. Faced with an overwhelming sense of being used, Aura made a courageous choice that shocked her family and inspired countless others. Dive into her powerful story of resilience, self-discovery, and the unyielding pursuit of happiness. Today, I want to share with you the question of whether parents should live with their children after they grow old. Aura, 62 years old, is a mother of 2 children, a boy and a girl. Her daughter is married. After retiring, Aura initially moved in with her son and his wife. However, a year after retirement, Aura packed her bags and returned to her hometown, never getting involved with her son's family and refusing to live with them. Let's take a look at Aura's story. My husband passed away 10 years ago, and since then I've been living alone. When I turned 60 and retired, my son was worried about me being lonely, so he invited me to live with them. I thought it was a filial gesture, so I agreed. I moved in with him, and at first, my daughter-in-law treated me well. We got along fine. She often greeted me and told me not to do too much housework, suggesting I go dancing, take walks, or chat with other aunties outside. But after some time, my daughter-in-law started asking me to do more chores. It started with helping with cleaning and escalated to cooking and eventually doing all the household chores and looking after the children. I thought my son wanted me to enjoy life in retirement, but instead, I found myself working as an unpaid maid, doing everything for their family. Before retiring, I had plans for how I wanted to spend my retirement. I wanted to dance in the square, raise a little dog, grow some vegetables, and enjoy a peaceful life in my hometown. Then I'd catch up with old friends over tea. But reality turned out to be cruel. Instead of enjoying life, I ended up being a servant to my son's family with no spare time for myself. One Saturday night, while I was cleaning, my son and daughter-in-law casually mentioned taking a 4-day vacation, leaving me to look after the children. They didn't even consider how I felt about it. I was furious. All the responsibilities at home seemed to fall on me while they enjoyed their time together. I was left to handle everything alone. Whenever I wanted to visit friends or take a break, there was always housework waiting for me. It felt unfair that their lives were so comfortable while I worked tirelessly for them. I spent days contemplating and finally decided I had to live for myself. So I told my son I was going to visit an old friend for a few days and let them manage on their own. My daughter-in-law was upset, accusing me of neglecting my duties, but I was determined. They couldn't stop me. I returned to my hometown and finally started living the retirement life I had envisioned. I do things I enjoy every day, and I feel fulfilled. I realized I couldn't keep sacrificing myself for others. I've already dedicated half my life to my son. It's time for him to take responsibility for his own life instead of relying on me. Aura's story is a powerful testament to the enduring strength and resilience of the human spirit. Her decision to leave her son's home and reclaim her independence was not just an act of defiance, but a bold declaration of her right to live life on her own terms. This courageous move shattered the traditional expectations placed upon aging parents, challenging the notion that their primary role is to serve their children endlessly. As she packed her bags and returned to her hometown, Aura was not merely walking away from a life of unpaid servitude, she was stepping into a new chapter filled with possibilities and self-fulfillment. Her story resonates deeply, especially with older adults who often find themselves torn between familial obligations and personal desires. Aura's experience underscores the importance of setting boundaries and prioritizing one's well-being, even in the face of societal pressures and familial expectations. Living alone once more, Aura embraced the freedom she had long yearned for. She spent her days dancing in the square, raising a little dog, and growing vegetables in her garden. These simple pleasures, which she had once dreamed of, became her reality. She reconnected with old friends, sharing laughter and stories over tea, savoring the richness of a life she had reclaimed. Aura's journey is a poignant reminder that it is never too late to pursue happiness and fulfillment. Her story encourages us all to reflect on the quality of our own lives and the choices we make. It is a call to action for older adults to stand firm in their right to live independently and joyfully, refusing to be burdened by unappreciated sacrifices. In a world where aging is often accompanied by diminishing expectations and increasing demands, Aura's tale is a beacon of hope and inspiration. It reminds us that self-respect and personal happiness are paramount, and that every individual, regardless of age, deserves to live a life filled with joy, purpose, and dignity. Let Aura's story inspire you to reclaim your own happiness and live boldly, unapologetically, and freely.
If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.